Hey, what's the crack? This is Oliver Keane, Motion Design. And today I'm going to show you how to structure your files inside of After Effects. Why is it so important to have your files structured inside of After Effects? It's actually a big question because in the motion industry right now and using After Effects and so on, it can be really stressful if you pick up someone's file and it's really untidy and it's not that clean, and it's really hard to find what's the main project and so on. I'm going to show you a few little tips, and I'm going to show you my file structure inside of After Effects and outside of After Effects, so you guys can see how it's done basically in the industry and like what's the best practices to use. So I'm going to show you right now what's like the do's and don'ts. I want you guys to follow along with me as well, so we can basically go through this together so you get to grips with this really quickly. So yeah, in the last project I showed you how to import stuff into After Effects, and in the last project as well, when I was importing stuff, the project panel over here was getting really messy because we were just importing random stuff and it just looked really messy. But we're going to do that again, and then we're going to start cleaning it up together so we can just get a nice file structure. I know it sounds a bit boring, to be honest, like file structure and all this stuff, but it really works out because when you're in a hurry and you need to do a change in a project, or if you pick up someone's project and they don't really have a file structure, it can be really frustrating. So for this project, I'm going to show you a good way of doing that. So let's go away and import stuff straight into After Effects like we did in the last project. I'm going to import a bunch of stuff and show you like how unclean it gets really quickly. So we're going to get some content right now. So I'm just going to minimize my windows, and I have these two folders here that I'm going to give you below this video. So I'm going to give you a link to these two folders where you can download. So basically I gave you this importing content and project panel folder in my last tutorial because that's what we covered, importing content and the project panel. But I'm going to give it to you again. If you have it already on your machine and you're following along with these tutorials, great, you don't have to download it again because it's the same thing. If you skip the last one and you want to know about file structure, I would just download the files below this video. So yeah, if we look in that folder again, it's the same folder I gave to you guys before. It basically has 7 pieces of content, but I'm just going to import these really quickly into After Effects. I'm not going to go through these 7 pieces of content because I already did that in the last tutorial, but basically the general gist is it's just a few different types of content between JPEGs to Illustrator files and Photoshop and so on. So I'm going to import that into After Effects really quickly. So I'm going to After Effects again, maximize it or pull it to the side and find your content. Okay, so I'm just going to drag in this stuff like in one bulk. This is just quick and easy way of showing you how the project panel can get dirty, so I'm just going to do it really quickly this way. So highlight all your content that you want to drag in, or even like you don't have to use my one, you can find stuff in your desktop or whatever. Okay, this is just showing you how messy the project panel gets really quickly. So if we just drag these over to my project panel in here, this is going to start importing these guys. Let's see here, and import them straight away. You don't have to do anything special because I'm just showing you just different types of content. So I'm just going to pull this over this tab so you can see what's going on. What I'm going to do straight away, just so we can get used to this really quickly, is all these guys here are all different types of like footage and images and so on. I'm going to start making compositions from these really quickly so you can see how it gets dirty quickly inside of After Effects. So if we come over here and I'm going to basically on the camo, I'm going to drag that down here. It's going to make a new composition, see right here. And the butterfly here, I'm not going to drag it down because that's going to drag it into this composition. I'm just going to right click and I'm going to go new comp from selection. And that's after making butterfly. Do the same thing with sound import, new comp from selection, and then do the same thing with flowers bloom, right click and go new comp from selection, and same with number 5, go new comp from selection, and then just do all of it, new comp from selection and new comp from selection. Okay, so basically they all have their own comps. Okay, so each one has their own comps, but look how messy this is. See over here, so there's 7 files in here, so now there's 14 files. But which one is your main animation? I know you have each for each. So if I say I'm going to go back into camo 1 here, okay? And you can see all down here your panels are getting quite big. You have 7 panels because there's 7 pieces of content. If I drag the butterfly comp into the camo comp, okay? So the camo comp is my master comp. This is where all my animation's going to live. I'm going to drag in sound. I'm just going to drag in a lot of different stuff, okay? Okay, so there we go. We have all this. So this is like our main animation file, is camo 1. But how do we know that's our animation file? How do we know that's our main you know, file, or this is the master kind of animation for this whole project that everything else is feeding into. We don't, because it's just called Camo 1. So like even if I name this, if you go enter on your keyboard, you can name this something like, say, master, okay? I see this a lot in studios, or someone will have a floating comp inside of their project panel called master, okay? But what if someone has this, okay? I'm going to duplicate this by pressing Command D, okay? Now this is called duplicate master 2, okay? And I'm going to duplicate it again. Duplicate master 3. But which one is actually the master? I know there's numbers behind it, but sometimes you can get like something like, I'm going to duplicate this again. So that's 4, I'm going to enter, and I'm going to go 4000, okay? You can get this a lot in studios, okay? And you don't know which is which, and it can be a nightmare, honestly. So for you, you want to be respected as an artist, you need a file structure, okay? And I'm going to show you really quickly a quick and easy way of doing this, okay? Camo 4000, okay, is our master comp now, okay? I wouldn't name it this anyway. Like master is a good thing to have sometimes at naming conventions. There's different naming conventions for different projects, and a lot of times your client will give you a nice naming convention, like with versions and so on. But what I'm going to show you right now is like folders inside of After Effects for your project panel. So if you make a folder, okay, here, okay, right here, and call this 1, okay, underscore main comp. There you go. Okay, 1 underscore main comp, okay, or you can call it master comp or whatever, okay? I'm just gonna go master next to it, okay? If you want, you can call it what you want, but as long as there's some type of, you know, naming convention that shows that these are where the main comps are, okay? So if we go ahead and drag in 1 camo master 4000 into this folder called 1 main comp master, as long as you name your folder kind of like in a way that is easy to kind of read and know that's where the main comps are, it's really, really good thing to do, because when you give your file to someone else, at least they know that like 1 main comp master is the main comp or your main animation inside of this file. I normally put a little 1 above it or next to it, because then you know that's like the first thing that's going to show up, okay? So what I'm going to do right now is, that's our main comp, so that's great, we know that's our main comp, okay? I'm going to make another folder here as well. So if we go here and press another folder down here, and I'm going to call this 2, okay? And I'm going to call these pre-comps, okay? So pre-comps, okay, so that's number 2. So your pre-comps is basically the comps that are actually feeding into your main camo, you know? So I'm going to open up main camo here, so I'm going to double click it, now it's opened here. And if you actually right click on your panel here and go close other panels and group, it close everything else, so you don't need it. So like we know right now, so inside this folder is our main comp and our master, so right here, and there we go, this is it right now. So we know everything is like, a lot of this stuff is feeding into this comp, okay? So that's great, so we know this is our main file. So that other file I just made, so I'm going to close this one, it's called pre-comps, okay? Everything that's feeding into that can go in here. So if I click and press shift, you can drag everything into your pre-comps. See, so all these comps, so your compositions right here, drag them all into your pre-comps. There you go. So now we have a pre-comp folder and thing. Oh, sorry, I missed one. So there's all the pre-comps that are going to feed into your main animation here in this pre-comp folder, okay? And you can see there's actually a lot of other stuff floating around as well, like images and PNGs and stuff like that. They actually stuff you imported in, and they're actually assets for your main comp. So what you're better off doing as well is make another folder and call it 3, how I say it with my Irish accent, assets right there, and drag everything else in there, because they're your assets for this project, okay? There we go. Already you see 3 folders, there's 3 folders, and you basically know straight away that's your main project. So that's a great thing to know. So always make folders inside of your project panel, because a person will know what's the master comp and what is the main animation inside of After Effects. And also, like I said, the pre-comps are in here now, so there's like, I know there's a lot in here, but at least you know they're the pre-comps, they're not the master, so then you can render straight from this and don't have to worry. And anyway, your assets down here, you know, it's really good thing to know to do this, because it just is really respectful for other designers and for yourself, because it's easy then to find stuff. So like say here, I'm looking for an asset that's like an image, at least I know they're in my asset folder, then my pre-comps folder, and then I can just find what I need. But a lot of times as well, I make subfolders. So if you click on assets here and press the folder button, it'll generate another folder inside of this. And I'm just gonna call this one like PNGs, okay? And then drag your PNG in there. You can keep doing this, do you know what I mean? You can do like PSDs, Oh, you can see there when you press the folder button, it's outside of, so if I collapse this, it's outside. You just drag that one in there, it'll keep it nice and tidy, and then get your PSD. You know, I'm not going to show you every single one and go through this and stuff, because I'm actually going to open up a real project where I'm using this system, so basically you can get to grips with how to structure your file. So I'm doing this kind of really loosely right now, but I'm actually going to show you my real file of how I structure my files inside of After Effects for production and for in the real world working in motion design. So I'm going to close this file because I don't need it anymore. If you want, and keep this open yourself and play around with the files and so on. But what I'm going to do, and save you guys a lot of time, I'm actually going to give you my file structure. So it's going to save you a lot of time. Instead of doing what I just did, I'm going to give you my file structure, and you can just basically have that, and you don't have to keep setting up all these files. I've actually gone ahead and made more of a beefier version of this, like a more organized version, and I made all the files for like an MP3 or sound and so on. So like I'm going to give you that file structure right now. So I'm going to give you this folder. I have it on my desktop right now, and it's called AE file structure Oliver Keane MD. So Oliver Keane motion design basically. I'm going to give you this file. It's in the link below, and you're going to have important content and project panel file as well. But if you have this as a zip, okay, and I'm going to recommend doing this, okay, download this folder, okay, put it on your desktop, okay, in your corner of your, you know, up here if you wanted to, or in the middle and so on. I'm on a PC, as you can see. You're going to have it look a tiny bit different on a Mac, but it's the same principle basically. On a Mac, if you double click, you can open this because it's a zip. Or if you come over here and just go extract files, I'm using WinR, I think it's called. You can also use 7-zip. It's like a file archiver, basically. You can unzip stuff, you know. So but if you come over here and if you go extract here, it's going to extract the file right up here. You can see up here. I'm just going to pop it up here so we can see it, or right down here, actually it's easier. So we have it right here. If you open up that file, what you're going to get right now, see here, is assets, deliverables. You're going to have a bunch of folders basically, and come here to motion graphics. Okay, let's put this in the center. Come to After Effects, go to template, and you can see here it says AE file structure Oliver Keane MD. Okay, if you open this, I'm going to right click it myself and go open with, I'm going to go After Effects 2020 because that's what I'm using. I do have After Effects 2021 here, but I started this tutorial session on 2020, so I'm going to keep that way right now. So I don't need to save this file anymore because I don't need it anymore. So you can see straight away what happens is it opens up a blank file, okay? My AE file structure, Oliver Keane MD. And in here we have comps main. So this is basically the master. I know I kind of named them differently in here than what I did a while ago, but it's the same principle. You can call them what you kind of want, as long as they're like comps master, comps main. People use different terminologies, but as long as you know where to find these, and this is like number 1. And then number 2 is your comps build. I call it pre-comps sometimes. Some people call them pre-comps. That's why I'm kind of keeping these kind of general loose names, because sometimes you can see in After Effects, people like to call the pre-comps builds, sometimes call them pre-comps and so on. So in there right now, inside of comps main, there's nothing there. Inside of pre-comps, there's nothing there. Inside of assets, there's actually like a lot of folders in here in the assets now. So we have 3D, we have AE import, we have audio, end cards, images, logos, PR import, that's Premiere, this is supplied artwork, and I have videos. Like I said, I gave you this file structure. This is your file structure to own now, and you can rename it if you want. You save it and rename it, whatever you want to do. I'm going to show you saving at the end of this thing. And if you go in here to images, you have AI, JPEG. I basically just named every type of image you can import into After Effects, okay? And close up your assets, and then you have ref and you have solids, okay? So basically this is just like a good file structure to keep. If you start from the get-go with this file structure I gave you, if you start importing stuff, it'll be so much easier. So we'll do that right now. So at the start of this tutorial, or near the start of this tutorial, I was importing stuff from, I'm gonna minimize this and show you. I was importing stuff from the importing and content project panel. Remember these guys? So the camo, butterfly, and all these guys. I don't really want to do that, and this is why I'm going to show you, okay? Because you need to kind of understand the kind of container thing inside of After Effects. So if I open After Effects, okay, and I'm just going to pull it to the side for a second. I'm just going to go assets for a second, and I'm going to go images. And remember, I was dragging it into like the JPEG folders and so on. So I'm going to do that right now. So if I go find the JPEG, the camo is right there, and just drag it into JPEG, okay? Straight from my importing content project panel. That's fine doing that, okay? And we can see our JPEG right here in camo, see right here. But what happens if I save this file? And I will show you how to save this file near the end of this tutorial. But what happens if I save this file, okay, but I don't put this camo JPEG into the proper folder, or give them the importing and content project panel folder? as well, what happens is it's going to go missing in my After Effects file, and I'll show you that right now. So if I delete this just really quickly, this camo JPEG, so if I come up here and go delete and go yes, okay, or if I move it or something like that, what's going to happen is, watch what happens inside of After Effects. After Effects warning, a file could not be found. That's because it's been changed outside of After Effects. So what you need to do is mirror your After Effects. This is the main thing I tell a lot of people to do. You have to mirror your file structure inside of After Effects outside of After Effects, and that's what I'm going to show you really quickly right now. So I'm going to go back here to my important content and project panel and just go Command Z, so it brings back in my camo JPEG, okay, and that's gonna, if I come back here and you can see like it's missing right here, but if you press reload footage, I'll come back in. But I don't want to do that, honestly, because that gets really messy just doing it from the file outside in the importing and content project panel. But what we need to do is mirror outside of After Effects. So see here, I have assets and I have 3D, import, audio, end cards, images, all that kind of fun stuff. And inside images, yeah, remember I showed you all of these types of images. You need to mirror this outside of After Effects, and that's what I'm going to show you right now. So if I kind of pull After Effects to the side here, okay, and I'm going to X out of this importing content and project panel folder, I'm going to go back to my A file structure file I gave you, okay, and you're probably wondering why there was so many folders inside of here than just the templates and so on. Is that's because if you go into your assets here, I gave you a mirrored version basically. You can see here side by side. So see, I have 3D, A import, audio, all that kind of stuff. It's all the same inside of my folder structure, and you should kind of keep it that way, because then if you change something in here, it should change in here, you know, so it's like easy and they mirror each other and so on, so you don't lose stuff. And that's what I'm going to do right now. You should actually combine your A file structure and the importing content and project panel folders together. So what I mean is basically, I'll show you right now. There's going to be a few windows open here, so sorry about that. So I'm going to just drag this over for a second. And remember what happened? That file went missing. The camo file went missing because it was in the importing and project panel. That's because, yeah, we're not going to send that to the client because that's like just like a quick folder. But what we need to do is see inside of my images, inside of my A file structure. So if we go to images in here, and then if I say go to JPEG, drag that camo, okay, into, I'm going to make a copy of it. So if you hold down Command or Control on your PC or Mac and just drag it in there, just make a copy of it. Okay, so I'm going to do that. So camo JPEGs in there, and then I'm going to go to my AI here, and I'm going to drag in my AI file, that's the house, and just basically keep doing that, you know, fill up your whole image folder with basic the importing content and project panel content. But yeah, you can keep doing that and going through, and like when you go to see assets, this is images. So if you go back to videos, because this is a video, and go to MP4, drag your MP4 in there and so on, and keep just like filling it up, you know, with all the thing. That's the way you should basically get all your files organized. So you need, like, see, because this now, if I show you right now again, if I go back to assets, okay, and if I go to images and say I want that JPEG right here, camo, see, it's my JPEG folder, but it's in my A file structure, and that matches. So then, like, if I go my JPEG here and go to my images inside my After Effects and go JPEG, so they mirror outside and inside, and it works a lot easier. So then it always, you know, kept in the right place. So that's a really important thing to know. You should mirror your file structure that's inside of After Effects outside of After Effects, so it's just easier and you know where everything is and so on, and then you won't lose things, honestly, because like I said, if you start importing it straight from that importing project panel, like if you forget to give this to the client or so on, it'll be a nightmare. But now, I'll show you right now, this is really easy. You have, say, like here, and if I go, say I had a video just there a minute ago, if I import that video in here, go to your videos, go MP4, and come down here to your videos in here, and go MP4, that, just drag in your flowers bloom in there. See? So like, it's just nice and easy, and you should have a good file structure outside of After Effects. That's basically the same thing as the inside, because it's just really handy for yourself, and you can just have everything, just your assets folder mainly, that matches, because then it's just easier for everybody. Because what happens now, and I'm going to show you how to save the file, okay? This is the first time I show you how to save an After Effects file, okay? Well, I'm going to make a comp just really quickly from that image, okay? So this is comp here. So if I go new comp from selection like that, okay, this is after making a one camo comp. But remember what I was telling you about keeping masters in your main comp, because I'm going to drag this one up here to my comps main, and now that's my main comp, and you can rename that if you want. Like I'm gonna say main comp, okay, but at least we know now that's the main comp because it's inside the main comp folder, but also it's named main comp. But like, you know, that could have main comp 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, and it could be a nightmare. So like at least we know now that's the main comp inside there. And if you have anything feeding in, so say if I come here to videos, drag that in here, so that video is in behind, you probably can't see it, but if you drag it over you can, and it's in there, you can see it's playing, and that's in here. But if you want to make a comp from that, so new comp from selection, and you have it here, but if I want to drag that comp in top here again, at least you know that's in here. But now this is not a main comp, this is a build comp, so I would drag that into my pre-comps build. There you go. So now we have the build comp and the main comp. Very, very easy. So to see there now already, like this, using this file structure is so much easier, and it's so handy. So now, okay, I'm going to show you how to save something. Okay, so I haven't covered saving inside After Effects first, so this is the first time we're saving it. Okay, so what I'm going to do is come up here to file, go save as, and go save as again, and I'm going to save this into my motion graphics folder. I'm going to go After Effects, and I'm going to just go to projects in here. Okay, and I'm just going to call this V01, so underscore V01, okay, and just save it right in there. Okay, so that's saved, easy peasy. Okay, so that's how you save a file, okay, an After Effects file. And the best thing about this now as well, if I minimize this, okay, is inside your file structure, your Oliver Keane MD file structure, you have all your assets in here now. So if I zipped up this file, so like see this file right here, if I zip this up and send it to the client, they have every single thing they need, because when you go back in here and go to your assets and images, you go back into the JPEG, you have the camo and stuff you want, and like I said, you can keep filling up those files with the importing content. I didn't do everything, but I think you get the gist. So basically, if you send this to the client, zip it up, send it to the client. You know, if you know how to zip things, if you highlight this and come here and go add to archive if you're using WinR and make it a zip, okay, and I'm just going to call this underscore V01 just because I don't want it to overwrite my one that's here already. So when you press OK, it'll put it up here and it's called V01. So if you email this to the client, okay, or WeTransfer, whatever you want, sometimes you'd have to maybe put it on a Google Drive or so on, because sometimes they can be big After Effects file, but this one is quite small, so you can probably email it. It's not too bad, it's only 21 megabytes. I would like WeTransfer it to somebody, or like put it on a drive or whatever is easier. But yeah, this file is ready to go to send to your client, and it's easy. So it's really easy thing to do. They have a nice lovely file structure. When someone opens this up, so this is basically the same thing as this, so when they open up your After Effects file inside of After Effects projects, this one here, it's already open, so it's right here. They can just jump in, and our main comp is this one, you know? They'll know straight away, and then if they need any builds, they're in here. Instead of having, like, say if I do this, drag these out here, and but like, I know it says main comp and that's fine, but if we duplicate this, like Command D a couple of times, they, like all these guys, how do they know? I know they'll probably go by the highest number, but at the same time people don't really know, so I wouldn't recommend that at all. But if you did say drag number 7, for instance, in here, at least they know that's the main comp of them all, you know. So that's just like a little way of showing you guys a good file structure to keep. I'm just going to delete these ones because I don't need them anymore. And there you go. That's like how easy it is. So I'm going to pop this back in there, and I'm going to pop this into my build. It's just nice, easy file structure. And I'm giving you this file structure, guys, and you can use it as much as you want, and you can play around with it and get used to it and so on. And it's just like a nice, easy file structure to use. But like I said, you can send that zip now to, you know, your client, this one here, and they'll have no problems opening up, and they won't lose any footage like I was showing you if you imported it straight from the importing content file, because they wouldn't have this, but now they actually have everything that's inside of this one file, so it's like easier, and they won't lose anything and nothing will break. What I'm gonna do is actually I'm gonna delete this folder because I don't need it anymore, so I'm gonna delete this one. I'll show you one more thing as well. Now I'm showing you like you can import from your mirrored file structure outside of After Effects. Sometimes it can be tricky, okay, and I've worked in a few companies that basically don't have any file structure, okay. It can be messy, to be honest, and I will tell you that, okay, and it can get really confusing. But what I'm going to show you as well is how to collect up your file very easy as well. So say for instance, okay, you run into this problem, okay, I'm going to show you right quickly. It's very similar to what I was showing you from the importing content, okay. So if I click open the importing content file right here, and I'm going to drag in this Photoshop file, okay. So I'm just going to go into assets here for a second, and I'm going to keep it nice and clean like I was showing you guys. And I'm going to go to PSD, okay, and I'm going to drag in my PSD in here. from importing content, okay? This is not from, you can just press OK. I'm bringing this in from my importing content, okay, straight from there, not from my A file structure yet, okay, because I just want to show you this way as well, and this can happen sometimes. Say for instance, okay, you forget, okay, to use my file structure, okay. I'm gonna bring in some sound as well, okay. Sorry, I'm gonna bring in some sound as well. So if you go in here to audio, okay, and I'm just gonna pop this into, you know, this is just quick, so I'm just putting it into audio. As long as it's in the audio folder, you can pop it into music or whatever. This is music, so pop it in there. And there you go, we have some sound. Those two pieces of content, the Photoshop document and the sound import, okay, are now inside my After Effects file, okay, but they're not in my A file structure, okay. They're saved on my desktop in this random folder probably, or something like that. Or say for you guys, okay, if you're using After Effects and you took a screenshot that you were using for reference, okay, from another file or something like that, okay, and it was on your desktop, and you save your file, okay, but you forget to put it into your file structure mirrored folders, okay, and you're like, oh my god, where that file is and whatever, and you don't know where it is, and there could be so much stuff on your desktop and you really screwed up. So there's an easy way to do this, and I'll show you, okay, if you run into this problem, okay. So I'm just going to maximize After Effects again, okay, and I'm going to come up here to my main comp. So we have like the sound in here, and we have that, if you go to images and PSD, we've got PSD in here now as well. So I'm just going to open up the PSD so you can see it's just like text layers and so on. So if we save this file, okay, we're just going to save it. It should be fine. Save. Okay, I'm going to save this actually as V02, okay, because I want to play around a small bit with this one. I would recommend versioning things off as versions while you go and stuff like that. So if you press OK, and okay, so you want to send this to the client, okay, but like I said, it's not in the file structure you have mirrored outside of After Effects. You can actually collect everything up. So I'm going to do this really quickly. If you go to your main comp up here and go up here to File, and if you go to Dependencies, okay, and go collect files, okay, and what this does, okay, if you have random images or anything like that all over your desktop, okay, I wouldn't recommend it, because I would say to keep my file structure that I said. This is a good way to know as well. It's if you have something saved on your desktop and you don't really know where it is, and you just want a quick collect of every single thing, what this does is it copies everything that you have logged into After Effects or are using in After Effects right now. It collects it all up in one folder and you can send it to the client. This is really easy. So what you do is you go all here, see, and then if you go collect, and like you can pick a folder wherever you want to collect and so on, and it's going to name it, you know, your V2, and it's going to put the word folder after it. You can delete the word folder if you want. I normally do, but for now I'm just going to keep it there. So yeah, if you press save like that, going to happen right now, it's going to generate a new file. See, it's a new After Effects file, a copy of what we've actually done, and it's actually opened it up, okay. So if I'm going to X out of here, okay, and I'm going to X out After Effects again, okay, you can see here on my desktop I made a folder called collects. I just do that sometimes because it just makes my desktop a bit like cleaner. If you click in there, okay, you're going to find your A file structure, Oliver Keane MDV2 folder in here, okay? And if you zip this up now and send it to the client, they have exactly what they need. So if you send this to the client, zip it up, send it to them, they have everything they need, even if you had something in their desktop, and it won't go missing. So if you come here and then like you can check in here, see, so there's your After Effects file, and if you go in here footage, go to assets, it actually will collect everything up for you. See, so now you have, remember I showed you the images, the PSD that we imported, so it actually collects it up here for you, so it's nice and easy. So that's how you collect up a file and save. You can do my way that I showed you with the file structure. So if you open up this one, like I said, you can actually zip up this one and send it straight to the client, as long as you're importing stuff from, like, say I showed you putting JPEG into the assets and JPEG folder, images and into the JPEG folder. You can do it that way, or like I said, if you go back here, keep going back until you find your After Effects folder. It should be in, pop in here, this one here. So if you open that right now, I'm just going to open it up in After Effects 2020. Just wait for that to open. When After Effects opens, see, you have all your files and your assets that you need. So put in the music, or put in the PSD that you needed, any of that stuff. So nothing will be missing if you do that thing collects, okay? So it works really well. So if you go file, dependency, and collect up all files, okay? It's the best thing to do if you are a tiny bit messy, you know, on your desktop and stuff. Like, I wouldn't recommend it, you know, because don't be messy, because honestly, people, like I said, you need to be respected in the motion industry as well if you want to work in studios and stuff. What I would do is definitely do it the way I was showing you. I'm just going to X out of these guys right now. And if you go back to my Oliver Keane file structure, the main one I showed you, and yeah, If you zip this up right now and send it to the client, perfect, no problem. But if you move things around and so on, or like, you know, you have random stuff on your desktop and you're dragging it into After Effects and you're not collecting it, or you're not putting it in the right folder, like in my file structure, you're going to have a problem. So guys, just keep that in mind for sure. So there you go, guys. That's a good way of like showing you, you know, how, you know, your file structure should be laid out inside of After Effects. And guys, I know it's a bit technical and stuff, all that kind of stuff, but don't worry, you get used to it, honestly. If I was going a bit too fast, I'm sorry about that. And if there's anything like you need some help or anything, that let me know, because I can always help you guys out. But it's good to use a good file structure because, like I said, people will respect you. And also what I'm going to show you my do's and don'ts, okay? So I'm going to show you, I know you're probably looking at this and you're like, oh, why he's showing me this or whatever, but I'm actually going to show you real projects, because I did a project for Gillette last year, and I am actually going to strip out all the folders inside of After Effects and so on, and show you like a do's and don'ts, what to do. Guys, I'm not going to give you these Gillette files that I'm about to show you, but I'm just showing you the do's and don'ts and what to do inside of After Effects. So I'm going to open up a don't file, okay, right now. So this is the animation in here. If you press spacebar, you can see it. It's just basically a logo animation. It's going to play a bit slow. Actually, this is a good thing to know as well. See this little green bar up here in your timeline here? This is basically like it's pre-rendering. See, it's like, it's basically RAM previewing your file, you know? And if you hit that snag, it'll slow down. So it's slowing down right now. So sometimes you just need it to load up fully before you play your animation. So if your animation is slowing down, it's because this green bar hasn't loaded up, because this is your RAM preview, just to let you know. So that's just like an animation there I did for these guys for social. You can see that's a real client, it's Gillette, you know. So like I'm gonna pull over here, okay? And this is the don't file, okay? So I took my original file, I stripped out all the folders, okay? So this is right here, you know, KCG, logo, monogram, animation here, okay? This is one comp open, okay? Is this actually my master comp? Is this the master finished animation? How are you gonna know that? You know, we don't know, you know what I mean? Like there's no master at the end of the name, there's no final, there's nothing at the naming convention to tell me that's it, you know? And a lot of times you're not gonna have final, you're not gonna have master, you're not gonna have anything like that, you know? And if you come over here to my project panel, it's a mess. Like, where do I even find this logo? Okay, there is an easy way of finding it by right clicking and come over here and go reveal in composition project. You can find it there like this, which is good, but you know what I mean, there's other versions of it as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's a mess, you know. I'm not going to give you this file because it's physically a job I worked on, so I can't do that against law and so on, but I can show you the animation because animation's out online and on Instagram and stuff. So right now you can see this is a mess. It's an absolute mess, you know. So this is not a good way of working, okay? That's why the file structure I showed you is really important, to basically have everything in folders, because then you can show, or you can navigate to your final asset. And it's really good, not just for giving people files, it's good for yourself, so then you can find the final asset yourself. Like I said, this is a don'ts folder, as you can see by the name. Don't do this. Don't set your, like, the animation's fine. You could have the best animation in the world, and to be honest, small little story, I was working with a production company for a while, and they brought in this amazing artist. He set stuff up in After Effects, and when I looked over his shoulder, it's like, these animations are amazing, whatever. He like did so good stuff, and we were so happy with his work. But in the future, I needed to change colors of some of his assets, okay? I needed to jump into these After Effects file and change stuff, change colors, change fonts, change tiny bits of animation and so on. But when I jumped into his After Effects project, it basically was like this. And honestly, it made my life hell. It took me 2 days to find what I needed, and the client needed something in 2 hours. So that goes to show, if your files are messy, if you're a messy designer, I lost so much respect for this designer. And honestly, he was like when I first started out as a motion designer, he was kind of the person I looked towards until I saw his files. I was like, oh my God, how are you working this way, you know? And you kind of get a bad reputation if you do this. So honestly, clean up your files, because if you give them to other artists, you know, you need to respect between, you know, it's like giving someone your homework, you know, in a way, you know, keep your files clean. It's easier for other people to pick it up. So this is a don'ts file, okay, but I'm going to show you a do's file, okay? So this is the exact same file I just showed you in folders. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 folders right there, okay? How easy is this already on the eyes compared to what we've seen, okay? If I come here to comps main and click this down, you're going to see my main files. I know this is called like 4x5 and 9x16. That's because these are different sizes. They're actually the same asset, but just in different sizes, okay? But that's fine to do and have subfolders inside there. But at least we know these are the main final rendered ready to render animation. So if you have like a folder called 4x5, because these are 4x5 ratios, it's just good to have these like in subfolders sometimes, because sometimes I have comps main and then I make another folder saying like Instagram stories, or I have production logo animation or something like that. Just because if you're building a toolkit sometimes for big clients and stuff, you might need subfolders inside of your main comps, but at least you know they're the final rendered or ready to rendered comps. This is just a good way of, you know, keeping it nice and clean. As you can see down here, this is not named master or anything like that, but I know this is a master animation master comp because it's in the main folder. So if I click on that, it's right here. See, it's already open. You can play it if you want by pressing spacebar. There you go. You have your animation. There you go. This is like this is a reverse version of this animation, but at least I know this is a final version. And then you have them in different sizes, you know. So this is like a more Instagram story, 9x16. But you can see by the naming convention and so on. So yeah, it's just showing you guys, you know, these are the final kind of comps, you know, for to render out. And then if you come back in here, you can see your builds. So your build and pre-comp can be a tiny bit messy because that's just basically the comps that are feeding into your main assets. You know, it's just good to have them in pre-comps folders because you don't want everything out here and really messy. And then you have your assets, and yeah, in here, like I had images, okay, and I was using PNGs. See, there's my PNGs. And if I needed to use, say, video, come here. I think I was using movies. I was using some light leaks. And then if you come down here to MP4, see, you get like more of that as well. So yeah, everything's just like nicely brought into folders, so you have like easy access to that. You know what I mean? It's really, really handy. Because even if you come down here out to this one, or come down to the first panel, or come back, it's the best way to do it. Actually, come up here, click on here, you know, that's one of the masters. And if you right click and come here and go close other panels and group, that'll just basically do it, get rid of your other guys again. So if we want to find this PNG in this comp, if you right click, okay, and come over here and go reveal, and then go reveal layer source in project, okay, and see it's in the PNG folder. See, so it's nice and easy, nice and clean, and you don't have to worry. And then if you see like this word like since, if you come over here and go and then reveal in source, see it's in the pre-comps, you know, it's not a main comp. So yeah, you don't have this file because I can't give you this file, I'm sorry I can't, but I just wanted to show you what's the value of having everything in folders and nice and easy, nice and clean. You don't have to worry. But like I said, I'm giving you, like, I'm going to X out of After Effects because I don't really need it right now. I'm giving you my file structure right in here, see, and you have inside here you have After Effects templates. You have my file structure now inside of here. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this, and hopefully it wasn't too overwhelming and so on. And I know we didn't really do much animation in this one. It was more about just structuring your files and getting you ready basically for the real world. So in the next session, I'm going to show you how to use the pen tool, and we're going to start masking stuff inside of After Effects. So guys, hopefully you enjoyed this, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye bye.